Hello and welcome to the Business Talk podcast. I'm your host Deepak. Today we are delighted to have Professor Serena Rovai with us. Professor Serena Rovai is the chair and director of Brand LuxuryLab and serves as an associate professor in charge of the MSc Responsible Luxury and Creative Industries at Excelia Business School in France. She is also visiting faculty internationally as at Stanford University and IULM University in Italy. In this episode, we will dive into her fascinating research on sustainability in luxury, balancing elegance with environmental responsibility. We have 12 insightful questions lined up to explore how luxury brands are integrating sustainable practices while maintaining their prestigious image. Join us as we unravel the intersection of luxury and sustainability with one of the leading experts in this field. Professor Serena, it's a true delight to have you on this podcast, and we are looking forward to hearing your valuable insights on the topic.
Thank you very much to you, and thank you for having me with you. It was a pleasure, and allow me also to thank you, the American Marketing Association, through which we got in touch. We had the pleasure to be in touch and to start together this journey into the world of the responsible luxury brand.
Yeah, thank you, Professor Serena. Professor Serena, could you share insights into your research journey on luxury brand segments from a global perspective?
Yes, absolutely. Well, in the past years, we know that we have been a total change into the world of luxury and sustainability. We know very well that initially, from a research managerial point of view, both could be in a certain way totally contrasting and by definition not really in line. But thanks to a movement that was surging in particular in the new millennial and Generation Z consumers, we saw that it was going towards a change. And in this context, as I was already, of course, doing research since different decades in luxury and luxury brand management, of course, it started to become fundamental, not only to me, but to different colleagues also in the sectors, how these luxury brands are integrating sustainability from a research point of view. And we also became aware of the different issues and challenges that we will discuss together. Of course, academia, when I refer to research, I refer more at large in academia. And why that? Because, well, from different perspective, higher education, the higher education role in sustainability is fundamental to develop more responsible talents. And this is also a role in which Excelia, my institution, with also a new stream of research into the blue wave, into water management as well, climate change, and some specific pedagogical programs is going towards too. And this is why also why these MSc programs in responsible luxury management and not simply luxury management and creative industries. This is something that in my career and in my visiting professorships, around the world at ISTE, Stanford, at IULM in Italy, I saw that is increasingly relevant and in which higher education institutions, they need to make a difference. They need to make a difference, of course, not only for our planet, but for our society, because it's only the future generations that in a few years to go will have a word to say and will make an impact, will make a difference in sustainability in luxury brands.
Professor Serena, How are luxury brands defining and incorporating sustainability into their business models?
Well, as I was starting to mentioning, in luxury brands until a few years ago, sustainability, was an awkward, let's say, word to say by definition and by objectives. They were totally on two different sides, and they could even show to be unconcilable totally. Well, thanks to the consumer, let's say, pillars. So thanks to the input given not only by institutions through, of course, United Nations, through different organizations, NGOs, and so forth, but in particular, thanks to the evolution in the consuming markets and segments in particular, with the millennials and Generation Z, it came increasingly important to have for luxury brands and the luxury industry, not only, I would say, an integration of sustainable values in their models, but in particular, an integrated, I would to say word to say simplistically, but more an integrated operational model towards sustainability. Of course, then COVID accelerated it, and not only in the environmental perspective, but also from the social, and I would call it social-cultural and governance related perspective. So from a more integrated axis and perspective. And this is something that all mainly luxury brands started to do at worldwide level. Of course, mainly the holdings, but I would just say not only, because we will discuss this together, and more interestingly, also small and medium companies, small and medium-sized made in Italy or Italian brands started to have a word to say in that. And this is why also we dedicated a volume with my colleague Manuela De Carlo, edited by Routledge, specifically on made in Italy and the luxury market. How from this concept of heritage, of elegance, of a timeless fascination through in an innovative perspective and through innovative techniques also, they successfully implemented integrated sustainable models.
Could you share some examples of luxury brands that have successfully integrated sustainable practices?
Certainly, yes, and allow me to say also that I would like to share more than not only successful integrated sustainable practices, but more innovative practices, because we know very well that, and my esteemed colleagues in the sustainable research, they have already shared with you. Well, we know very well that there are different approaches to sustainability, and some of them more axis focused or functions focused, so more on manufacturing or from creation and design, sustainable approach, or from the retailing one. However, of course, the ultimate output is to have an integrated model that also intervene in the life cycle of a product to make it sustainable, to make it a part of the circular economy, to make it being in that only 9% of recyclable products that nowadays are in business, and that could contribute to, of course, a better planet, but a better society as well, and a better, economic and governance approach. And in these, there are some that I would call case studies that I would, extract from not only holding, but small and medium-sized companies. And one for all is an Italian brand, the Diesel Group, a highly innovative brand belonging to the OTB, that also in the name has this innovative approach. Only the Brave group. It's a group, of course, belonging to Renzo Rosso, as we know very well, and that in the last 5 years has totally modified in an innovative way their sustainable engagement, from only being focused on some spots, I would say, operation from environmental point of view, to socially impactful one and governance one. One for all, their creation of the OTB Foundation with a significant impact from a social perspective in those weak categories that nowadays, one for all women at global level, are, allow me to say, sometimes forgotten from the priorities of sustainability, but also from the environmental side in a highly innovative way from the manufacturing perspective. With the creation of the diesel denim lab, or even, and it's something that we also discuss a lot in our volume, from a recycling perspective, an innovative recycling perspective. And this is why also I specifically refer to them, as recycling with respect to luxury brand has been always a touchy, let's say, approach, in particular from the second-hand, vintage, or pre-loved sustainable approach that we can have. Why? Well, simply because it would be considered an attack to the identity of the brand, or to the position of the brand, or the current collections of the brand. And consequently, the two words, they were totally splitted. Well, diesel was one that not only made the two words into one, but that they integrated into their fashion collections, that they totally integrated into the brand with a specific collection sold online, but also in their flagship stores, which was, in fact, the result of pre-loved or second-hand jeans collections. And these, for, in particular, those who are experts in the field, was highly innovative, because with respect to the other brands, it was showing how also through second-hand, the brand could reinforce the commitment into sustainability and into recycling, and not seeing it as an enemy, as an attack to the brand reputation. Diesel had the way to find it and to make it not, an attack to the brand reputation, but a reinforcement for the brand reputation and brand relationship with the customers. Of course, there are others that we will also focus on lately. Of course, LVMH as well, as clearly a strategic, integrated global approach to sustainability from ESG integrated perspective, and not only focusing on the manufacturing or the retailing functions and operations, but also in some cases even started from the most difficult one for luxury brands, from the design sustainable practice, where, of course, here we talk about elegance, we talk about creativity. When we talk about luxury, we talk about that industry where business rhymes with, or should rhyme with, aesthetic and beauty. And sustainability could be a difficult, a challenging, we could say, value to integrate into the business model from creation and design point of view. But we know, and we have seen that in some cases they successfully made it.
So how do luxury brands balance their commitment to sustainability with maintaining their traditional image of elegance and exclusivity?
This is an excellent question. And I usually say that this is a critical question, for luxury brands, for responsible luxury brands, and their commitment to elegance, to heritage, and to exclusivity. Not easy to answer just in few minutes. Maybe could be the topic for another session. Well, we have to take into account also the change that has been, of course, affecting the luxury industry in the last decades and more. The change that has made the luxury industry a global one, that has changed its pyramid, not only into focused on an authentic luxury, but even an affordable luxury, where elegance and exclusivity, they were mostly symbolic, more than real values and commitments of the brand, of more than the essence of the brand. We can say that they were being transformed into symbols of that. However, there hasn't been also this change. We know that there has been a change in the consuming global market, but there has also been a change into the multi-sectorial focus of and transformation of the luxury industry. When we were talking in the past about luxury, we were talking also mainly about personal goods. Nowadays, we talk about the luxury experience, the luxury as a lifestyle. And we could say that these changes, this evolution of luxury, indirectly, they have, of course, created challenges, but also they have given more opportunities to go towards sustainability for luxury brands. However, well, you could ask me how this has been done. Of course, this has been also highly complex, depending on the level. So for this reason, I would mainly focus here on the authentic luxury brands, where still luxury rhymes with elegance and exclusivity. And we could take a few of them for all as Ferragamo. and heritage made in Italy brands that still is challenging itself to keep on being highly focused on its authenticity, while trying, of course, to hear and to adjust to the wish of the new global markets, consumer markets, that in some cases are challenges their values. And well, Ferragamo, and also in different sectors, is successfully trying at least to preserve this authenticity, in some cases at the costs of their profit in the market, but because they want to keep this authenticity, and that rhymes with the elegance and exclusivities associated to some fundamental values of sustainability, craftsmanship, the so-called craftsmanship or craft core that we call nowadays. Why? Well, because we know that environmental and social sustainability is also taking care of communities, is taking care of traditional heritage type of techniques that are developed through legacy processes from fathers to sons, and that in a sustainable way, in a socially, but also in an environmental sustainable way, through handcraft work, through the use of natural materials. There are handcrafting unique, exclusive products of elegance. Well, this is a sustainable approach that Ferragamo is still highly considering, highly focusing, while, well, I don't mention, but there are some other brands that are still positioning themselves as authentic that have stopped to do it. And we have read on the newspapers, some polemics about that. Ferragamo is trying to keep it. And in so doing, also in supporting financially also those craftsmen of excellence that in the clusters of leather made in Italy, in the suburbs of Florence, are still using these responsible, unique techniques. Of course, Ferragamo, we were talking about also about this multi-sectoriality of luxury, because when we talk about luxury and sustainability, we often refer to environment and to fashion. Of course, these are critical issues, but we don't have to forget that luxury is not only personal good and fashion nowadays, as I was saying, and luxury is also, for example, hospitality. And in this perspective, Ferragamo Holdings, Ferragamo Group owns also hospitality, luxury hospitality services, as one for all, Il Borro. Il Borro is a unique hotel, resort, I would call it more, that it is in the outskirts, in the countryside of Tuscany, and where all the environmental related focus and on the use of natural products in line with the territories, services aligned to make an impact and to integrate unemployed local communities, in the last year has made a difference and has showed also its commitment from hospitality perspective. Well, the territory, as I was saying, for luxury brands, the territory that associates the value of heritage and exclusivity does not have to be forgotten in their engagement towards sustainability, because the territory means a social sustainable engagement. The territory means, for example, a brand as Brunello Cucinelli, a commitment to pass through a kind luxury perspective the values of the fathers, again, to the sons, but not only in craftsmanship techniques, but also in preserving the artistic and cultural values of that territory. So from their engagements in arts, but their engagements also in passing the know-how with the creation of the so-called Scuola dei Mestieri, the commitment of luxury brands as Cucinelli to create a humanistic and to have put in place a humanistic luxury management perspective and leadership as well, that should be exemplary for other luxury brands. So a focus on craftsmanship, on the territories, and of course on the legacy that the made in can imply in sustainable terms for luxury brands.
Very interesting. Thank you so much, Dr. Serena, for this insightful journey. Yeah. How has consumer perception of sustainability influenced luxury brand strategies in recent years?
Well, I would say that it has, can we say the word critically? That has critically and substantially influenced luxury brands in pushing them to reposition themselves and to go towards an integrated model of responsibility, not only ad hoc actions and operations, but an integrated approach towards the product life cycles, an integrated approach towards operations, but even more through an integrated approach towards also sustainability as a whole, not only a focus on the social, environmental, or governance aspects, but sustainability as a whole. Sustainability, as I was saying, making a difference in communities. Sustainability in making a difference in a humanistic, through a humanistic leadership approach that Cucinelli has shown us. Sustainability also through a product creation, total evolution that small brands from the lower luxury positioning in some cases have innovatively shown us. Just a few as an example. La Milanesa brand, Refall brand, small, medium-sized brands made in Italy once, together with other female entrepreneurs brands that from craft core processes like La Milanesa, through the forgotten knitting and crochet technique, have revamped a technique, and in so doing contributed to recreate and to give job opportunities, in particular in her case to women that in Italy were in critical situations from, job opportunities and social support point of view, but also recall that from a forgotten technique, the Prato, that the experts in the field know Prato, one or if not the most worldwide known textile industrial cluster, luxury and non-luxury one, but luxury one where the main luxury brands from Dior to Ferragamo, to Gucci, and so forth are crafting, are manufacturing their creations. And in that area, almost no one knew that there was a unique technique associated to recycling. Prato, after the Second World War, using a specific technique, started to recycle, in that case, old, unfortunately, war military uniforms to make for the endangered populations textiles to be used. We all know the damages that war produced on citizens, on the drama and the tragedy or normal citizens. So Prato developed this technique to try to give, very simplistically, dresses to wear. Well, this technique then, in our industrial model, consumerist model, was totally forgotten. But there was someone, a visionary entrepreneur, Niccolò Cipriani, that decided to create it about 10 years ago, a brand focused on recycling cashmere, re-cashmere. So highly innovative and challenging for him at the beginning. Can you imagine almost 10 years ago talking about re-cashmere, recycled cashmere, one of the most elegant and exclusive fibers. We talk here about the elegance and the exclusivity of luxury. And this was one of those fibers that were the most unique ones, and representatives of luxury. Well, he, in a challenging and visionary way, to contribute in an integrated way to sustainability, decided to base the entire brand. So those that we call sustainable born brands, and to base it initially on recycled cashmere. So highly innovative. Then young consumers started to appreciate. But that, unfortunately, at that time, the system has almost neglected. It was even too innovative for that time. But that then, through, unfortunately, the COVID acceleration to sustainability, also other brands and also the business network started to appreciate and in some cases also to adopt, because if 10 years ago, Rifo and Nicolò were the pioneer at worldwide level, well, now they have followers in even the main holdings of luxury brands that they create, not in an integrative approach, because they just create limited editions or drops of cashmere collections, but they are following his innovative steps.
Dr. Serena, how do luxury brands ensure that their supply chains are sustainable and ethical?
Well, I would say that there are different perspectives, okay? There are different actions. Some of them more responsible. We were talking about the territories, and we were also talking about, social sustainability, that sometimes it comes just after environmental sustainability. And this is the case for some brands. Why? Well, because we know very well that sustainability has to be an integrated approach. And in this approach, sometimes the social aspect is forgotten. If very simplistically, we decide to offer and purchase an entire cluster that it is in difficulty to become part of your holding, and in this way also to have the know-how, the technical know-how, and the financial know-how to start the path towards a comprehensive, sustainable supply chain, I wouldn't judge it. I wouldn't evaluate it totally comprehensively sustainable, because of course we are talking about, of course, giving financial supports to small and medium-sized companies, providers and suppliers in difficulties, but we are also in some cases totally modifying the local economy. There are other cases, as the cases of Brunello Cucinelli and this humanistic enterprise, that in his sustainable approach, and he started talking about the humanistic approach when sustainability, allow me to say, was not so popular in luxury. So about more than 10 years ago, when he already decided that one part of his profits would have to be devoted to the providers and suppliers that they were part of their supply chain, to make it more sustainable from environmental point of view, but also from social point of view, to give them the opportunity to still stand alone as a part of the local economy and without monopolizing the local or the country-related economy, but still maintaining it, but at the same time helping them, supporting them.
Dr. Rovai, can you discuss any innovative materials or technologies luxury brands are using to promote sustainability?
I would more talk than materials, that they are almost, I don't want to say every day, but Well, there is a lot going on innovative materials. I would like more to talk about the challenges of having these material recycled, because here we were talking about recycled cashmere and recycled jeans, but we don't have to forget that if we want a product to be recycled, it has to be recycled from the start of the creation. We know very well that some fashion or even, packaging and so forth products, they may be not recyclable in their life cycle simply because all those components are not initially. Then, of course, this represent a high impact into a negative sustainable approach, even if there are new innovative materials that are used, where is very simplistically the balance. And of course, in this path focused on materials and technologies that luxury brands are using, we have already mentioned the Prato recycling technology, but we can also mention new types, not only of materials and technologies, but new types of approach that some brands are having to change brands, to change the panorama of luxury brands at every level. One for all, ACBC. Luxury is not only fashion and apparel, is also leather and accessories, is also shoes. And shoes have a highly negative impact on our ecosystem. An Italian brand, again, ACBC, decided initially to propose a brand, a shoes brand, focus in particular on sneakers that could put in the market a type of sneakers created with at least some sustainable materials. And I say at least because they taught me and they taught us that the shoes is composed by 13, 14 different parts, and consequently, allow me to say it's almost impossible to have 100% sustainable sneaker. But then, at a certain point, they realized how important this sustainable impact of having at least a partially sustainable shoes could be in the market, and how we could make a difference, and when I talk about market, in the sustainable environment, to have a more sustainable environment. Consequently, well, they simply decided to go from a role as a brand to a role as a partner. At the moment, ACBC is not only a brand, but I would say is mostly a provider of know-how for innovative materials and technologies for luxury brands that they want to invest themselves concretely and realistically. Most of them, they don't have the know-how. And it would be, we are talking here quite simplistically about sustainability and its and sustainable and integrated sustainable approach. However, operationally, it's a high, complex, time-consuming, financial-consuming, know-how requirements approach. And in particular, in the shoes sector, is still at an embryonic stage. Well, ACBC decided that, as they say in the name of the brand, anything can be changed, that anything can be changed in the luxury and non-luxury shoes market, and they want to partner to support this change. They don't want to position themselves as competitors. They don't want to position themselves as competitors, but they want to position themselves as facilitators, as supporters, as partners to make a difference in, as I was saying, the luxury and non-luxury sector.
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Serena. My last question. What future trends do you foresee in the interaction of luxury and sustainability, and how might they shape the industry?
Well, I would say that, and it's not by chance that I was talking about this ACBC partnerships approach. I would say that a change is needed from an integrated approach to sustainability, not an simply ad hoc approach for luxury brands, and also a focus more on partnership, secondly, so less on a mere competitive approach, but as ACBC has taught us, with a real commitment of sharing know-how to make the planet and society a better place. And last points, but not least, by being committed to the fact that sustainability is not only a trendy word, but it is a true engagement from a comprehensive approach, environmental, social, and I would say more social-cultural, and from governance perspective. And in this perspective, I would say that the future challenges, those who would make a difference, would be mainly those that would have a concrete impact also on society, on those categories of society and women, communities that are in need for events related or for the local economy, and that they could concretely make our society and our planet a better world for human beings. And last, but of course not least, by thinking as change makers, the future generations as change makers. So the role of us and as consumers, and the role of higher education institutions in forging the new future responsible talents that, as a consumers, but also as a managers, can make a difference. And in that, there are ongoing examples, as I was saying, associated to my institutions, but we know also the creation of Stanford University Sustainable School of Sustainability. Of course, not all the institutions may have the same financial support to do it. But, well, I always like to say that we have to start it somewhere. And in some cases, brands can help institutions, as it is done, for example, in Italy through the partnership of Alta Gamma with the main brands in luxury to preserve craftsmanship know-how with Adopt una Scuola, Adopt a School. But I would say that it can be important not certainly to adopt a school of craftsmanship, because what is the basis of sustainability is disappearing, the quality of craftsmanship. There will be no longer talents in the field, and this obliged Alta Gamma to do that, but also for future managers, for more responsible managers. An example in a different field is the example of the Dorchester Group with Principe di Savoia Hotel and Ulm collaboration on creating responsible services for responsible managers in partnership with the students. As I was saying, there can be a lot to be done for a better world and for a better society. But certainly, well, we know that the change starts also from us as consumers, and from me as a researcher, as a professor, to diffuse the engagement, the commitment in sustainability with my. So, of course, the future trends are also the responsibility of each of us as a consumer. In my case, not only as a consumer, but also as a professor and researcher, in sharing with my students an engagement to make a better world and a better society, to be more responsible managers, and what my institution is already doing through different actions and pedagogical innovation. Of course, for me also as a researcher, in diffusing and in trying to stimulate what can be different types of approaches for brands towards an integrated, sustainable engagement that can really make the planet and the society a better world for all. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Serena Rovai, for joining us on this episode of the Business Talk podcast. Your expertise and perspectives are incredibly enlightening, and we appreciate the time you have taken to discuss these important issues with us. We look forward to applying these insights in our own explorations of luxury and sustainability. Thank you once again for being with us today.
Thank you very much to you for having the opportunity to share with consumers, brands, and institutions a little of brainstorming of how the situation is and what we can make for a change. Thank you.
Thank you.